Hey guys, it is Bree the Realtor, and today I'm going to take you step by step on how to purchase a home. All right, so let's get into it. The first step is choose a realtor. Contrary to belief, not all realtors are the same. We have different skill sets. We approach things different. We have different strategies. And so you have to find the realtor that you feel the most connected with. And so I would say to focus on three different things. Number one is trust. You have to trust that the person that you're working with or the realtor that you're working with has your best interests at heart. Okay. We can't get muddied about how much we can make or what we want for you. It is always about the buyer's needs. So make sure that you are working with someone that you trust fully, because this is one of the biggest purchases that you're ever going to have in your life. You have to make sure that you're working with the right person. Number two, communication. If you're working with someone who does not communicate well, does not communicate the way that you communicate, you probably need to find somebody else. We all have different communication styles. Some like to hear more, some like straight to the point. Make sure you're working with someone that can deliver things the way that you are able to comprehend and you are actually able to listen and retain the information that they're giving you. So I would say that's key. Two is communication. Three, most importantly, you've got to work with someone who knows the market. Okay, some of us do this full time. Some of us do this part time. Some of us don't study the market the way that we should. And what happens is you can cost your buyers a lot of money or to lose out on things because you're not, well versed with what the market is doing day by day, week by week, month by month. This market changes all the time. What happened in January cannot be compared to what's happening right now. We have to constantly evolve and work around and figure out the trends and what's effective for buyers to win in this market. And that is key to your home buying success. We're still in a seller's market. To be out of a seller's market, we need 6 months inventory. We only have one currently. So you get the gist. You've got to work with somebody that knows what they're doing. Number two, pre-approval. You've got to obtain a pre-approval. I would say this is probably the most important step. The pre-approval establishes what your budget is going to be. So when you get with the lender, and you need to make sure you're working with the lender that does a thorough check, okay? Because in the underwriting process and when they determine if you're eligible to get financing, they look at something called debt to income ratio. And what that means is they want to make sure that you're making enough money to cover the debts that you currently have on top of a home and on top of a mortgage. And so you want to make sure that you connect with a lender that does a very thorough search of that, because what this does is pretty much it tells you that you're able to afford set amount. Okay. And once we know that you're able to afford set amount, those are the type of houses that we look at. Oftentimes we feel like we can afford far more than what we can, or maybe we're way under than what we can afford and what we would be comfortable with for our monthly payment. Make sure you connect with someone who can tell you for sure, hey, Jane, you are able to qualify for $300,000, then we will go search for a home up to $300,000, okay? Number three, the search begins. I'll set you up on an e-alert or whatever your realtor is going to do. But for my buyers, I set them up on an e-alert. And when they see something that we like, we book an appointment and we go see that house. That's pretty much the gist of it. You need to make sure that you are working with a realtor, because many houses on the market do require MLS membership. You have to have super access. That's one of those big blue boxes that look impossible to get in. It pretty much is impossible to get in. So you really need to work with a realtor who has all the resources and tools necessary for you to see as many houses on the market, so you can make sure that you are picking or choosing the best one that meets your needs. Number four, we submit an offer. So once you find the house that you love, we will submit an offer. We'll talk about the strategy. We'll talk about things on how we can make our offer, as competitive as possible. And then we move on to step number five, be patient. I know the excitement takes over us and we want to know immediately if our offer has been accepted. But unfortunately, the market doesn't work that way, especially if there are multiple offers. Oftentimes there will be deadlines, or people just need time to make decisions and review offers. So what I always like to tell my buyers is be patient. You are working with a realtor who you trust, who communicates well. So once that realtor finds out that there's been a decision made by the sellers, they will contact you as soon as possible and let you know if your offer has been accepted or if they went another route, right? So on to number 6, I think, is we're under contract. So once you are under contract, that's when all the deadlines start. You'll have your due diligence period. You'll have a loan application period. You'll have a loan approval period. You'll have all these things that are due, and they don't activate until you go under contract. Now, one quick rule of thumb, the first day is the day after the date of execution. So for instance, let's use July 4th. That was Monday. If you go under contract on Monday, your first day is Tuesday. So for instance, on the contract, your realtor wrote that you are going to pay a binder deposit or an earnest money deposit, usually the same thing, depends on what wording your realtor uses. But let's say you have a 3-day binder deposit, right? Let's use the same example. July 4th was the day that we executed the contract. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is when your binder deposit would be due. So when you're talking with your realtor, once you get under contract, just for your general knowledge, day 1 is the day after the date of execution. Okay, so after you're under contract, the first thing that we will likely take care of is the earnest money deposit. And what that is almost like a sign of good faith that you are able to purchase the home and you want to purchase the home. The key to this is the earnest money deposit goes towards your down payment. So let's say, for instance, you bought a home for $300,000. Your down payment equates to $20,000. That's 3 to 5% of, $300,000. Please don't quote me on the math. I'm just throwing out numbers. But the point is, your closing costs are $20,000. Your binder deposit is $5,000. What that means is take your $20,000 minus your $5,000 binder deposit, and you have a remaining balance of $15,000 at closing. So most importantly, your binder deposit goes towards your down payment. Sound good? Sound good. Okay, so next is the due diligence period. And so that can be negotiated. It can be 3 days. It can be no days. It can be 7 days. It can be 15 days. It's completely up to what you and your realtor decide on what's going to make you the most competitive and makes more sense for your offer. But the due diligence period, often referred to as the inspection period, is when you do all your inspections. So your homeowner's inspection, your wood destroying organism inspections, your pool inspections, your septic inspections, anything that you want to inspect, this would be the time to do it. It's also important to note, in the state of Florida, you can change your mind for any reason in the due diligence period. You can wake up on Wednesday morning and you say, I don't want this house anymore. It is that simple. You will let your realtor know. Your realtor will submit a cancellation, and then boom, bada bing, you're out of your contract. If you already paid your binder deposit, you will be able to get that back in the due diligence period. So that's one thing I always want to let buyers know. You have the opportunity after you're under contract, to change your mind. Clearly, that's not ideal. Clearly, that's not encouraged, but you do have the opportunity to do that. Within your due diligence period, like I said, you have your inspections. Then we will roll over to, I believe, step 10. I've lost the steps at this point, but you go into your renegotiations. So what that means is if the inspection comes back and there's some things that we need to request to be repaired, we would submit a repair request. The hope for that is the sellers are either willing to do the repairs that you asked, or they will offer a credit. Either or is a win-win situation. It depends on what you want. If you rather the credit, we'll aim for the credit. If you rather the repairs be done before you move in, we'll aim for the repairs. So it just depends. But this is that renegotiation period where all of that can be negotiated with the sellers and the buyers. Next step, number 11, the loan approval. This is the big money ticket. The goal is that once you're under contract, you have already done the necessary process during the pre-approval to assure that you can purchase this home. Key tip here, do not make any large purchases while you are under contract. Actually, at the time you want to start looking for a home, there needs to be no large or significant purchases, if you can help it, that happen. That can completely mess up your debt to income ratio, and what you were approved for can drastically change and could quite possibly take you out of the home market or at least lower your budget. So let's make sure if you have any big purchases, you've already got that out of the way. If you have one that's coming up that you cannot get around, make sure to tell your lender so that they can rerun the numbers to make sure you're still on track for that budget number. Anyways, let's get back to it. So your loan approval, this is the money ticket. This is what tells us that you've been approved for your loan and you're on track to close, okay? After the loan approval, you're going to get a clear to close. What that means is that underwriting has done all of their job. They've completely vetted you. They feel confident that you can make your payment, and we've received a clear to close. That is also the golden money ticket. Lastly, you're going to get your closing documents. This has all your final figures, what you're going to pay at closing, what credits there are for you or for the seller, what debits there are for you or the seller. This gives you a breakdown of every single fee that is within you purchasing this home, okay? Once you get the closing docs, we're going to schedule the final walkthrough. It is the obligation of the seller. When you enter a contract, the state of that home is required that it is maintained throughout this entire process, okay? So if there are any significant changes or any damage that was done once you were under contract, the walkthrough allows us to address this before we actually close on the home, and you're going to be stuck with the rehab that may be required with damages that were done throughout this process. So we'll do the final walkthrough. We'll make sure everything looks the same. Everything's in the condition that we were used to it. Once we're done with the walkthrough, you go to the closing table and you have closed on your home. So now that you are aware of what all it takes to purchase a home, you're prepared now, okay? This process is not easy. It can be overwhelming. I will keep it as honest and real as possible. It can be very overwhelming. Some offers that you're going to put in will work. Some offers won't. Some sellers you run into are not going to be that nice. Some are sweet as pie. It's just the name of the game. But if you work with the right person, the right realtor, the right advisor, you should be supported throughout this entire process from the start to the finish. So if you have any questions about the home buying process, please feel free to drop it in the comments. If you're in Northeast Florida, specifically the Jacksonville area, if you're interested in purchasing a home, I would love, love, love to help you. If you would like this guide that I just went over, I actually have a PDF version of a buyer's guide. Just send me an email or send me a text and I can make sure to send that to you. But this process is fun. It is exciting. It's one of the most important decisions that you can ever make in your life, but it gets you closer to financial freedom. You can do it. We can do it. Let's continue the process. Let's continue educating ourselves. And once it's time for you to purchase a house, you are going to be ready. All right, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Again, my name is Bree the Realtor. I'm based in Jacksonville, Florida. If you know anyone moving to the area or if you yourself need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. See ya.